Before we begin, I want to tell you something most men never realize. A woman can hear hundreds of compliments in her life and forget almost all of them. But there are a few very specific words, spoken in a certain way, that stay in her mind for years. Not because they are flashy, not because they are dramatic, but because they touch something deeper in female psychology that most men don't even know exists. And tonight, we're going to explore 8 compliments that quietly create that kind of emotional impact. Some of them might surprise you. One of them, especially the last one, is so powerful that many women never forget the man who said it. But first, welcome. If you're new here, my name is Anastasia, and this is the PrismaLogic channel, where we explore the deeper layers of human psychology, relationships, and emotional intelligence. If you appreciate calm conversations about understanding people better, especially the mysteries of attraction, consider liking the video and subscribing. It simply helps these ideas reach more men who were never taught them. Now let's begin with something important. Most compliments fail not because they are wrong, but because they are shallow. You're beautiful. You're hot. You look amazing. Women hear these constantly, from strangers, from coworkers, from social media comments. So when a man says the same thing, it rarely creates emotional impact. Real attraction isn't built on surface praise, it's built on being seen. The first compliment that creates genuine attraction is this: I like the way you think. Notice something. You are not complimenting her appearance. You are acknowledging her mind. For many women, this is surprisingly rare. A woman may spend her entire life being evaluated for how she looks, but very few men take the time to appreciate how she thinks. When you say calmly and sincerely, I like the way you think, something subtle happens inside her. She feels respected. She feels intellectually noticed. She feels like you are engaging with her as a person rather than just reacting to her appearance. And psychologically, this changes the dynamic immediately. You are no longer another man chasing beauty. You become a man who values depth. And depth is extremely attractive because it signals emotional intelligence. But the key is sincerity. If you say this without actually listening to her, she will feel the emptiness behind the words. Women are incredibly sensitive to authenticity. They read tone, eye contact, timing. So this compliment only works when it's earned. After she shares an opinion, after she explains something she believes in, after she reveals a thought most people ignore. Then you pause slightly and say, I like the way you think. Not loudly, not dramatically, just calmly, because calm confidence is more powerful than enthusiastic flattery. And that brings us to the second compliment, one that many men underestimate. It's simple, but psychologically, it touches a very deep emotional need. You say, you're easy to talk to. Now on the surface, this sounds ordinary. But emotionally, it means something much bigger. It tells her that she creates comfort, that her presence feels safe, that conversation with her flows naturally. Many women worry about being judged, misunderstood, or dismissed when they speak. When a man acknowledges that being around her feels easy, it signals acceptance, and acceptance creates emotional warmth. But here's the deeper psychological layer. When you tell someone they are easy to talk to, they subconsciously want to keep talking to you because you've reinforced the identity they want to embody. Comfortable, interesting, emotionally engaging, and suddenly the conversation becomes more open, more relaxed, more real. Because attraction is rarely created through pressure, it grows through emotional safety. And the men who understand this often stand out without even trying. But we're only getting started, because the next compliment touches something even deeper in female psychology. Something connected to how women feel valued, respected, and emotionally remembered. One of the quiet truths about attraction is this: women don't fall for compliments. They fall for how a man makes them feel about themselves. And the next compliment taps directly into that emotional experience. It's not flashy. It's not dramatic. But when it's said sincerely, it creates a subtle shift in how she sees you. You say, I feel calm around you. Now, listen carefully to why this matters. Modern life is noisy, fast, demanding, social expectations, responsibilities, constant communication. Many women carry emotional pressure they rarely talk about openly. So when a man says, I feel calm around you, you are giving her something deeply meaningful. You're telling her that her presence brings peace. not excitement, not drama, peace. And psychologically, peace is incredibly attractive because it signals emotional safety. Women are naturally drawn to men who create emotional stability, but something fascinating happens when you reverse that dynamic and show appreciation for the calm she brings into your life. Instead of chasing her validation, you are acknowledging her emotional impact. This changes the dynamic from pursuit to mutual appreciation, and mutual appreciation is the foundation of genuine attraction. Now let's move to another compliment that many men overlook, even though it's incredibly powerful. You simply say, "You're very perceptive." This compliment touches something that many women quietly take pride in, their emotional awareness. Women often notice small things, subtle changes in tone, unspoken emotions, details others miss. But very few people recognize this ability directly. When you tell a woman she is perceptive, you're acknowledging her emotional intelligence. And emotionally intelligent women deeply appreciate being seen for that. Because being perceptive often means carrying the invisible work of understanding people. When someone finally recognizes that ability, it feels validating. But again, sincerity is everything. This compliment works best when it's connected to something she actually noticed. Maybe she understood your mood when you didn't say anything. Maybe she picked up on something happening in a group conversation. Maybe she asked a thoughtful question that showed insight. That's when you say it. You're very perceptive. Calmly, respectfully, no exaggeration. And something subtle happens psychologically. She begins to associate you with the feeling of being understood, not just admired, but understood. And that emotional association is powerful. But there's another compliment that goes even deeper, because it acknowledges something most people never think to praise: individuality. You say, "You're different in a good way." Now, this one must be delivered carefully. Not as a vague statement, but as an observation. Maybe she has a unique perspective. Maybe her humor is unusual. Maybe she approaches life in a way that stands out. When you recognize that uniqueness and frame it positively, you're doing something very important psychologically. You're giving her permission to be herself. Many people spend their lives quietly adjusting their personality to fit expectations. But when someone notices their authentic traits and appreciates them, it creates a feeling of emotional freedom, and people are naturally drawn toward those who allow them to feel free. This is why certain compliments create deeper attraction than others. They don't just flatter, they validate identity, and when someone feels their identity is welcomed rather than judged, emotional closeness grows naturally. But the next compliment might be one of the most underestimated of all, because it doesn't praise beauty, intelligence, or uniqueness. Instead, it recognizes something even more powerful in female psychology. This next compliment is deceptively simple, but psychologically, it carries enormous weight. You say, "I trust you." Pause and think about that for a moment. Trust is not given lightly, it's earned over time. And when a man expresses trust in a woman, he is giving her a gift few others ever do: a direct acknowledgement of her integrity and reliability. Psychologically, this compliment does something subtle. It positions her as competent, respected, and safe in your eyes. And women, perhaps more than men, deeply feel the validation of being trusted. It isn't just about confidence, it's about being seen as someone who matters, someone whose judgment and presence are valued. But here's the key: sincerity matters more than the words themselves. You don't say it casually or indiscriminately. You say it after she shows thoughtfulness, honesty, or demonstrates care. Any moment that proves the trust is genuine. When she hears it, she experiences a sense of significance, a quiet pride. And psychologically, this creates a magnetic pull, because people are naturally drawn to those who see their worth. Now, let's move to another one, which often surprises men with its effectiveness. You make people feel better. It's easy to underestimate this because it sounds indirect. But emotionally, it acknowledges her impact on others without exaggeration or drama. Women, especially emotionally intelligent ones, often spend a great deal of energy noticing and supporting the moods of those around them. This compliment validates that effort. It tells her that what she does, the way she laughs, listens, or simply exists, has meaning, that her presence is felt, appreciated, and remembered. There's a fascinating psychological effect here. By recognizing her influence on others, you are aligning yourself with an emotional truth she experiences but rarely hears acknowledged. And that subtle validation often creates stronger emotional resonance than any praise of appearance ever could. The next compliment is even more intimate in its psychological effect. I admire your strength. Notice I didn't say physical strength or obvious achievements. I'm talking about inner strength, resilience, perseverance, the ability to navigate life's challenges without losing herself. When you sincerely recognize her internal fortitude, you touch a core part of her identity that many people overlook. This acknowledgement goes beyond superficial attraction. It signals respect, and respect is the bedrock of deeper connection. And here's an important detail. Timing and delivery matter more than intensity. Don't overstate it. Don't make it theatrical. A calm, composed statement said after witnessing her navigate a challenge or handle a situation thoughtfully is enough. Because attraction, at its core, isn't created by clever lines. It's created by noticing, understanding, and appreciating the layers of who someone truly is. The next compliment, perhaps the most emotionally resonant of all, will touch something almost every woman longs to hear, yet very few men ever express. It's subtle, profound, and transformative when said the right way. The final compliment, the one that often leaves the deepest imprint, is this: you make me want to be better. Pause for a moment and feel the weight of that phrase. This isn't about telling her she's perfect. It's not about flattery. It's about impact. It tells her calmly and sincerely that her presence inspires growth, that being around her encourages self-improvement, not because of pressure, but because of influence. Psychologically, this is powerful because it appeals to a universal desire in women to feel meaningful in the lives of those they care about, to know that who they are, how they act, and what they believe contributes to something larger, someone else's growth, happiness, or success. When a man acknowledges this quietly and genuinely, it creates an emotional resonance that lasts far longer than any surface-level compliment ever could. But this works only when it's authentic. Women instinctively sense when words are empty. You can't say it just to impress. You must genuinely feel that she inspires you, whether through her kindness, her resilience, her intellect, or simply the way she navigates life. When delivered with calm confidence, it communicates depth, respect, and admiration all at once. Now, if you take a step back, notice a pattern emerging in all these compliments. They aren't about looks, they aren't about fleeting charm, they're about recognition, acknowledgement of her mind, her heart, her presence, her influence. Every single compliment we discussed validates an essential part of her identity. That is why they are unforgettable. That is why they create real attraction. And here's the subtle nuance most men miss. The order and rhythm of these words matter. You don't rush through them, you don't layer them all at once. You sprinkle them thoughtfully across moments of genuine connection, because attraction isn't built in a single conversation. It grows quietly, steadily, in response to being seen, understood, and valued. So let's recap briefly. Compliment her mind, her ease, her perception, her individuality, her trustworthiness, her emotional impact, her inner strength, and finally, the way she inspires growth in you. Done sincerely, these 8 statements tap into the emotional and psychological currents that guide how women experience connection and desire. And remember, it's not about manipulation, it's about awareness. Understanding female psychology isn't a trick. It's a path to deeper, more meaningful relationships where both people feel seen and valued. If you found these insights helpful, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to PrismaLogic. Here we explore the truths about relationships, attraction, and human behavior that most men never learn. Because real connection isn't built on lines or tactics. It's built on respect, understanding, and the quiet power of words that truly matter. Now reflect on these 8 compliments. Think about how you can express them in your life with sincerity, calmness, and presence. That subtle shift, it's often the difference between being remembered and being forgotten. And if you start practicing this today, you'll notice the impact long before you expect it.